This is Pete Fletzer. On this episode of Around the Galaxy, we're talking to Star Wars trivia champion Marie Wilson.
I did start an Excel spreadsheet that had every canon book I'd read, a summary, so I kept up with that to try to keep track of everything.
You're listening to Around the Galaxy.
Welcome to episode number 135 of Around the Galaxy, the Star Wars fan talk show. I am your host, Pete Fletzer. Thank you so much for joining us. If this is your first visit with Around the Galaxy, thank you so much for checking us out. Make sure to follow us on all your social media channels, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at ATGcast, and visit our website, atgcast.com, to keep up with the show, to find older episodes, to find interesting links in our merch, and also information about our Patreon program. Listen, if you have ever been listening to the show and thought, hey, I would love to be a part of that, well, you can be every single week for as little as $3 a month. That's 10 cents a day if I'm doing the math right. You can become a part of the Around the Galaxy Patreon family. You can get all the information you need on that at atgcast.com. This week, we are talking to Marie Wilson. She is the two-time DragonCon Star Wars Trivia Champion. She is a member of the Star Wars grouping of Schmodown Trivia Challenge, and she has a really interesting and fun Star Wars story to tell, and I'm excited to bring it to you. But before we do, I want to bring in ATG3, our resident droid, for a new segment that we started last week.
Which was awesome, by the way.
Well, I think the jury might still be out on that, but...
I'm a legend.
Okay, well, so every week we are going to ask ATG3 to read your review, whether you left it on Podchaser or Apple Podcasts or wherever you may have left a review. We're going to find it, and we're going to let AT read it.
It's a little bit below my capacity, but if that's what you need, I'm here for it.
Okay, what do you got?
This week we're reading a review from Apple Podcasts from somebody called The Prawns.
Oh, Frank and Amy. Framey.
Oh.
Yeah.
Frank and Amy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to know, Frank?
They've been fans for a long time.
Okay. But I'm new, remember? You just got me a week ago. We just started this. Anyway, so Framey says, a must for any Star Wars fan. Pete Fletzer, that's you, right?
That is me, yes.
Pete has created a fun, interesting Star Wars podcast that has already had so many fantastic guests who are incredibly interesting and engaging.
That's great. Thank you.
Pete's presentation style is entirely professional.
Oh.
And the production quality of Around the Galaxy is incredibly high.
Oh, well, that's very nice.
I think Framey is incredibly high.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness.
No, not nice.
With resulting in a polished end product. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that's great. I love hearing from the fans.
Well, okay, if you're listening, why don't you leave us a review and hear what I have to say about your review.
AT, this is not about you.
No, I'm going to comment. I mean, if you're going to have me on, I'm going to earn my pay.
You're not getting paid.
I'm not getting paid?
No, not unless we get these commercials in.
All right, and now Marie Wilson after these messages.
This is Marie Wilson, DragonCon Star Wars Trivia Champion 2 years in a row, and you're listening to Around the Galaxy.
Marie, how are you doing?
I'm great, doing wonderful.
Well, congratulations on your recent victory. It's 2 years in a row, right? At DragonCon?
Yeah, thank you so much.
So I'll start with that question. Like, how long does it take to prepare you for DragonCon or any start? Because you're also a member of the Schmodown competition as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I started, my first DragonCon was in 2017, 17, 18, 19, 20, yeah, 2017 was my first DragonCon, and on a lark, I was like, oh, there's a Star Wars trivia competition, and so I went and participated and got in the top 10, and that was amazing, and then I started my blog and started really focusing and honing in, and it took until 2020 for me to win.
Yeah.
So it took 3 years for me to be able to actually get to the very top.
It's a commitment, kids. That's what we're saying. It's not, you can't just show up and do it. You know, it's funny because the last couple of years, DragonCon has posted publicly their entry questions, the test that you have to take to qualify. And listen, I consider myself a major Star Wars nerd. I get like through question number 3 and I'm like, I can't do this. I feel like, have I even heard of Star Wars? I mean, these questions. So how long have you been a fan so that you have this sort of deep knowledge? Let's start there. What was your sort of your introduction to Star Wars, and when did it become a part of your life?
Yeah, so I was 10 years old. So that would have been 96 when I first saw Star Wars. And my parents showed it to me. They were like, okay, you need to watch this now. And we watched A New Hope, and I was just enamored. I was like, this is incredible. And then we watched, so we watched Empire Strikes Back, and the next day, and I was like, I really want Luke and Leia to get together. And my dad was like, oh,
yeah,
we need to watch all 3. So, so that was pretty funny. But yeah, I watched all 3 movies in the span of 2 days. And after that, I was on the back of tests. I would draw Star Wars characters.
Right.
And my grandparents took me to the Magic of the Myth museum exhibit at the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. very soon after that. And I was obsessed. I loved it. And then in 99, so just a couple years later, Phantom Menace came out, and I didn't know that it was possible to make an even better Star Wars movie. So and then Attack of the Clones came out, and I was like, they made it even better. And then Revenge of the Sith, they made it even better. And I was just like, this is crazy. So that was my start in how I consumed Star Wars, just starting to be obsessed with it. But then when in 2014, when New Canon started.
Yeah.
The year before that, I had started reading some Star Wars chapter books, adult novels.
Chapter books. That's what I call. That's what my kids call them too. So
yeah, right. I don't know why I said that.
You had like a flashback to when we were talking about when you were 10. You're like, yeah, Mom, I can read chapter books. So
yeah.
So you were reading some Star Wars chapter books, and everybody was very proud of you. Okay.
And I loved them, and I fell in love with Jason and Jaina and Jason's whole journey to become Darth Caedus, and I thought it was fascinating. And then New Canon happened, and at first I was livid. I was so upset, but then I was like, wait a second, I can start at the beginning and actually get through every single bit of canon material.
Wow. I mean, that's a great way to look at it, right? Because a couple of weeks ago I had Scott Rifen on, and he was a major collector of all the EU books, all the Legends books, and to try to catch up. I mean, he literally, I think he said he had 49 boxes of books once he put them into storage. I mean, so there's no way to keep up with it, but it's great to look at it as like, look, now I can start the story, right?
Exactly. So from there, I started keeping this, and I need to update it. It's been a while, but I did start an Excel spreadsheet that had every canon book I'd read, a summary, planets and characters involved, or planets and species involved. And so I kept up with that to try to keep track of everything. So I was going through a really hard time when New Canon started.
Yeah.
So it was actually really, really good for my mental health, which was really cool.
Yeah. Now you were doing that without a thought of going into trivia contests, right? You were just like, that was, that was the way you approached the stories.
It was just a fun way for me to consume it, for sure.
Yeah. So what was the first book? It might have been the Rebels book. It
may have been A New Dawn.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I can tell you the very first canon book with a queer character.
Okay.
That would be Lords of the Sith. But which was
That's
one of the
canon.
very
That's
first
right.
ones.
I always forget that that's canon. I always think that that was like right on that edge of, well, it was probably right on the edge of when between the EU and the canon switchover. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, I did remember the very first bit of canon literature was the Dark Horse Son of Dathomir comic series with Darth Maul.
Right. Wow. Great stuff. And so now the same thing, do you do the same thing with the comic books? Do you keep track of planets, that sort of thing? And yeah.
But now I think the reason why I've kind of slacked off from my spreadsheet is because I do have my review blog. So all the information is on my blog and I can just search it and find whatever I want. So
and do you so so let's talk a little bit about, like, you were a bit upset about all the Star Wars that had been sort of erased, right? And I get that, and you know, it's funny. I think that that's, of all the sort of, I don't want to say negativity, but of all the challenges that come when people point out, hey, Star Wars took away my whatever. I think that that's a very valid point, but do you see Star Wars now through Disney Plus and the stories that are coming together? Are you starting to see what, and somebody who didn't read as much of that stuff, I'm starting to see, looks like they're trying to pull some of those story elements in. Some are more obvious, like with Thrawn. I mean, that's obviously a pull, but are you seeing other story elements coming in?
yeah, like for example, Jackson.
Yeah.
I can't believe they brought the green bunny rabbit back. That's pretty funny.
Right.
But I mean, there are a few things, but I really like how the things that they are bringing back, that they're reshaping it to fit the current story.
Right.
Rather than just, like, for example, at DragonCon, there was a woman who walked up to me and asked me if the rumors that Mara Jade was coming back were true. And I was like, I don't know about all that. I haven't even really heard anything about that.
Right.
But that would be a really strange thing to currently include.
Mm-hmm.
But it's possible they could do it in a way that would fit the current story, just making her a different character.
Right.
But physically and personality the same. So that, I think that's cool that they've done that. They've, like, Thrawn is still Thrawn. It's just in a different place in the timeline.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I mean, I'm even seeing, I think for anybody who isn't happy about the way that happened, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, I totally understand that. Like, if I understand the commitment and everything that went into that, but I love sort of the way Filoni and Favreau and the entire story group are sort of throwing these little breadcrumbs in. I mean, and things that you have to, you know, it has dawned on me recently that the echo chamber of Star Wars fans, those that go in costume to DragonCon, those that hang out on Twitter, those that have blogs and podcasts like you and I, we're a very special sort of breed in that we are, like, consumed by it. But if you look, you'll find things like, if you look at the art for the final episode of Bad Batch, it was called Mount Tantus, and all of a sudden you're like, I know what that's from. I know where that's coming from. And so I love that they're kind of giving the things to the fans from a different perspective that doesn't change the way new fans, if you will, get accustomed to it.
Exactly.
This is Eric Walker, and you're listening to Around the Galaxy with Pete Pletzer.
Let's talk a little bit about trivia. These trivia guys. How do you do it? How do you go about it? How do you prepare?
I have thousands of flashcards. Thousands. And luckily, one of my best friends introduced me to the idea that I could download an app that has a flashcard app. So that was very helpful because I was carrying around bags and bags of paper flashcards. So now I have it all organized, and the app that I use, I can mark it as learned, and then you can select to have it not show the ones that you've learned.
Mm-hmm.
So it's extremely useful. That's been a huge, huge help. But part of what I do, for example, with Clone Wars, so many clones.
Right.
So, and so many different things that they all did and different missions they were all involved in. So I would watch an episode of Clone Wars and comb through it to be like, okay, what clone is the most important in this episode and what did they do? And would make a flashcard based on that. So that was actually why I won last year, because the question was who dropped the electroproton bomb on Malastare that awoke the Zilla Beast, and that was a flashcard that I had made for that episode. It's Goji. So that was super exciting. Actually, so when I was doing the virtual competition last year, I didn't have a whiteboard yet. Now I have one because of Schmodown, but I didn't have a whiteboard at the time. So I was writing on a pieces of paper. And so the piece of paper that has Goji written on it, I framed it with the flashcard. So it's like, this is why I won.
The system works. The system works.
Yeah. So I also, of course, go through the visual guides because there's so much from the visual guides, and that is included in DragonCon trivia and now Schmodown trivia.
Okay.
For example, I'm going to be very vague with this because it hasn't been released publicly yet. It's only been released to patrons. But there was a match that was a Star Wars match, Schmodown. And there was a question that everyone thought was impossible. And I knew the answer. And I knew the answer because I had written flashcards based off of the most obscure things possible in the visual dictionaries.
Now, so for those that aren't familiar with Schmodown, tell us a little bit about what Schmodown is.
So Schmodown is a sports entertainment show that involves trivia. And there's a singles division, which is just movies in general, teams division, which is movies in general, inner geekdom, which is self-explanatory, and Star Wars, which is also self-explanatory. And I'm in the Star Wars division. And there are currently 8 factions with 12 people on each faction, and we're all competing for points. And it is so much fun. It's been a blast getting involved with the Schmodown and meeting a variety of new people. It's been really great. I was super bummed I didn't get to be in the current tournament. That was sad, but my faction mate is in the tournament and she's fantastic. So that's exciting.
Yeah, it's great because it's almost like professional. It's very much like professional wrestling, except trivia. So instead of like beating the crap out of somebody, you just mentally beat the crap out of them by knowing more about something they should know about, right? Or they think they should. And Schmodown is more... is that more based on film and television?
Yeah, so Schmodown is the 12 Star Wars movies. That includes the Clone Wars movie. So it's those 12, just movies, but the questions have gotten super, super deep. Okay. So you have to read the visual dictionaries if you're going to get anywhere. DragonCon is everything. Yeah. So DragonCon is all the novels, all the comics, even Forces of Destiny had a question. Wow. Like it's everything. So that's the blog has been incredibly useful for that. Just because when things come up that are just weird random trivia things that I'm like, I might need to know this. I have a little section that I'll put in my review that just says trivia, and then I'll outline the different trivia things.
Do you find that you read and write or read and watch Star Wars differently now that like this has become your like the thing that you do, you know, this is your thing now? Do you watch it differently? Like I know, like as a musician, on the side who wants to be, want to be a musician. I listen to music differently. I know that I listen
Mhm.
to it differently than other people because I'm listening for things. Can you sit back and watch a new episode of The Mandalorian and enjoy it like purely as you used to, or do you look at it very differently now?
Well, I have to watch every episode twice now because I do try to enjoy it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because I don't write my reviews of the TV shows the day of, I write them the next week.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives me time to just enjoy the episode the first time I watch it. And then I'll watch it back a second time as I write the review.
Got it. And then you're taking your notes and you're picking up on things and things like that. Yeah.
With the comics, it depends on how my day looks and just how things are going, what I have to do. But sometimes when I read the comics, I'll write the review as I read the comic. So I'll make notes as I read. And then I use a Kindle now instead of hard copy books, because I can highlight as much as I want.
So it's like investigative journalism for you when you read these books.
Yeah. Because I'm always like, oh, is that going to be important? Oh, that looks like important trivia. And I'll highlight it.
Now, have you, what's your favorite sort of Star Wars content? And then I'll ask you, what's your favorite Star Wars era?
Okay. So favorite Star Wars content. I'm actually going to say right now, the young adult novels. Because you've got Claudia Gray, Lost Stars.
Yeah, Lost Stars. Everybody loves that. And they also
Lost Stars.
Princess of Alderaan, of course.
Yeah, that's another great young adult novel. And then you've got the newest one, Out of the Shadows, which ties with my other favorite current favorite Star Wars book, which is actually a junior reader, so for middle school, Pirate's Price.
Okay. Oh yeah. So that's cool. So now, would you consider that a chapter book? No.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have as many pictures, it's a chapter book. So your favorite Star Wars sounds like it's the books.
Yeah. For sure. I don't get me wrong. I love the TV shows, but a book you can carry in your purse with you. You can have it wherever you are and just get completely immersed however you want. And they last longer too. Yeah. Because the TV show's only 30 to 45 minutes and it's over. Yep. So, but when it comes to, I'm trying to think if it was the movies versus the TV shows. I might choose the TV shows just because I love Clone Wars so much. Yeah.
Clone Wars is it's so, and it's almost like I could see why you could put that sort of hand in hand with novels because there's so much going on. You have, I don't even know how many episodes. Was it 7 seasons, 20 something episodes per, other than season 7 and 6. And so you're talking 150 plus episodes. Yeah. So 75 hours of content. That's a bunch of books. So that's, yeah. And it's funny because I didn't appreciate Clone Wars when it first hit. I was kind of in that sort of Star Wars lull. It came out on Cartoon Network and I was kind of like, yeah, it's not my thing. And then, I really got back into Clone Wars when my son got into it, and it was perfect timing because all this other stuff is now so connected. Do you find, as somebody who's an expert in all the Star Wars details, when things like, for example, in Bad Batch, the first season or first episode, and Kanan's there and his lightsaber was the wrong color, like, does that drive you crazy, or does it make you go like, what's the right answer now?
So the thing that drove me, because like immediately I went back to that comic and that happened in, and I read through it, and what irritated me the most was that the conversation between Kanan and Depa Billaba didn't happen, because that conversation was all about the Jedi's role in the galaxy. And I thought it was a very important character development moment for Kanan. And that frustrated me. But yeah, the little things, they definitely, I'm like, wait a second. And then like with Clone Wars, when, you know, Maul and Ahsoka, and I was like, but that's already been covered.
Yeah. I mean, E.K. Johnston was probably like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. And then, you know, people are talking about with the Andor series, they want to see K2SO and Cassian meet. And I'm like, but that already happened in a comic book. So, it was a whole one shot. Like, it's not like it was one in a whole bunch in a series. It was a specific one shot for that event. And I'm like, that would be so sad if they changed it.
One of the things I've talked about with nerdy friends of mine is that you sort of have this hierarchy of content, and I'd love your perspective on it. It seems like films, of course, are it. I mean, even Matt Martin said on Twitter the other day that, you know, if I think his quote was something to the effect of, if it's a novel that's describing the events that happened in the movie verbatim, then the book is canon, and then it feels like, so it's like TV, it's like movies, TV, books, comic books. I think that's kind of like, if they're gonna fudge something, that's kind of the hierarchy. Do you think I have that right? Or
yeah, I agree. I think that's probably the way they see it. The graphic novel adaptations of the movies, oh my god, they are so bad.
Even
it's
recently,
it's so wrong. Like, they'll do my reviews of the graphic novel adaptations are like half what was wrong, or what was skipped over that doesn't make any sense why it was skipped over. And I'm just like, why?
Do you find it's hard to enjoy it sometimes, or is it just like, or can you put yourself in a headspace of, this is a different telling of the same story? Or
I try, and like I do enjoy the graphic novel adaptations. I just, and one of them, the most recent one that came out, the Phantom Menace one, when I started reading it, I was like, okay, I'm not going to focus on what they're missing. And halfway through, I was like, darn.
I've been focusing on it.
Yeah. So it was like, oh, well. But I mean, you know, I try to remember that different people remember things differently.
Right.
So if different people remember things differently, then different tellings are going to remember them differently.
Right.
So all from a certain point of view.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars kind of threw all that right out the window when Obi-Wan said that, right? Well, what I said, yeah. And you know, it's funny. I think if that was to happen in the sequel trilogy, if somebody said from a certain point of view, I think people would have flipped out. But it happened in the second story or third story, so we're okay with it. We can kind of live with that. But oh wow. So of all the Star Wars content that we know is coming, what are you most excited to see?
I am really enjoying the High Republic. So I think the next, I don't know what they call it, wave, phase, whatever it is. The next grouping of books to come out, I'm super excited about that, to see where everything's headed. Yeah.
I have not been as close to High Republic as I would like. And to your point, and I think Nick said it in the chat as well, I kind of have in the back of my mind, like, I'm going to be able to start High Republic and stick with it. But sort of like when, it's a really bad example, but when Breaking Bad came out, I like ended up like 3 seasons behind. I was like, forget it. I eventually got to it like 10 years after everybody else did. But I kind of feel that way with High Republic. Do you think that High Republic is going to appear or influence any of the more mainstream I hate to call it mainstream because it feels like what I'm doing is I'm putting books in different, but I don't think there's any way to kind of deny that. Like the books are definitely very niche. Do you think that we'll see High Republic influence the current stories, or any newer stories?
Well, from what I understand, Acolyte is supposed to have some sort of connection.
Yeah.
So that upcoming TV show, whenever it comes out.
Right.
But other stuff, well, actually in the comics, High Republic stuff is littered throughout the comic books.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like for example, in the current Star Wars run, they have Starlight Squadron, which is from Starlight Beacon. In Dr. Aphra, there have been ships that have been shown that are High Republic ships. And there was an artifact that Aphra was after that was a High Republic thing. So in the comics, they've managed to infiltrate them with High Republic material. So that's been really cool to see.
Yeah. I think that's a nice sort of, I feel like Star Wars really does a great job of sort of paying off people who are reading all the stuff, and it may not be a big piece of the story.
Yeah. Resistance Reborn, that novel, the, I guess, Journey to the Rise of Skywalker publishing campaign. So Resistance Reborn was the biggest payoff for people that read everything and even that play the video games. Like that book had stuff from novels and comic books and video games and everything. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, even like Shriv was in it, who came from Battlefront 2, when you had planets that appeared in Clone Wars, and you had that's I really did enjoy that one. And any story that's got that much Poe is a lot of fun anyway. You get that. So he's
Hey everybody, this is Sean Kennan of the Israel, and this is Around the Galaxy.
One of your YouTube channel is called Aphra's Artifacts. There's some great photos of you dressed as Aphra. What is it about Aphra that you love so much and that you associate with?
Well, first, I of course love that she's queer, so it's nice to have a queer character that I can enjoy and feels like she's a good friend. She is always fun, but the coolest thing about her is that you never know what she's going to do next.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
So I just love the fact that she is so unpredictable.
Yeah.
And it makes for an incredible story. And the current Dr. Aphra run is by Alyssa Wong is phenomenal. Like, I can't believe that Alyssa Wong is able to write a character that she did not come up with so well.
Yeah. It's and one of the interesting things, I think, and I'm waiting for Dr. Aphra to catch on, and I'm hoping that and I say catch on, I mean, again, among that sort of smaller group of very focused Star Wars fans, she's a household name. Even me, who doesn't read a lot of comics, I'm familiar with her story, and what I've read, I've loved. I mean, people say, she's the Indiana Jones of Star Wars, which is, I think, in a way, it's nice to say, but it's also like, she's more than that, right? So, but I would love to see her get a Disney Plus show or something like that. What are your thoughts on that? And who would you have play her, now that I've thrown that out there?
Oh goodness, I'm not good with casting.
I know trivia. I don't know actors.
Well, for Schmodown, I had to learn a whole bunch of actors. Okay. So I actually know some pretty obscure actors now, but but I'm not sure who I would get to play her. But I think it would be really, really great for her to have a Disney Plus show. I think it would be an incredibly fun show. Mm-hmm. And another thing about her is just that she's so confident and self-assured, even when she's in situations that are dire as all get out. Yeah. She's so smart. She's so creative. about coming up with solutions to deal with these bad situations. And I think that part of it's really fun too.
Do you think, and I'll tell you my only issue, and I'm not trying to be negative, but my only issue with Dr. Aphra is that she's too close to like the Vader story, and it feels a little bit, and I think that would be a challenge for a Disney Plus show. Do you agree with that sentiment, or do you?
Well, I would say that definitely at first. And she does have, as we've seen in the recent issues, some serious PTSD when it comes to Vader. That was one of the most incredible collection of panels in a comic book I've seen, where she saw Vader at the Crimson Dawn auction for Han, and immediately everything was a different color, and she was flashing back, and I mean, she full on panic attack. So there is that, but she has gotten away from her actual story, isn't very connected to Vader anymore.
And I think that would be why I think it'd be great to give her a Disney Plus show, because we don't know how her story ends. I think that's one of the challenges with comic books for me, is I know where this is going to go. I don't know how it's going to get there. And that's where the fun is, right? It's like on a roller coaster, you're going to go up and down, you're going to go around, but you don't know exactly what's going to happen. So that's kind of what the comics do. But for Aphra, literally anything can happen. Like if they did a series with her, anything could come to life in her story. And I think that would be very interesting. And I also think it would be just an appealing story to have in the Star Wars universe, somebody who's got 2 crazy droids and just this wild adventure lifestyle, and just, and to your point, also a different form of representation, which would be fantastic.
That would be amazing. Getting a queer character in, live action would be fantastic. Because all we've got so far is Daisy and Tice, their kiss. In Rise of Skywalker, and that's it. Now in animation, we do have Flix and Orca, but Flix and Orca aren't humans, so people, don't. To me, I still think it's good representation, because they're an amazing, old married couple. I love them so much, but to a lot of people, that's not enough representation. So it would be great to have a live action human character.
I think that would be great. And again, I think it really it lends itself to sort of being a great kind of serialized story that doesn't have to have galactic implications. It could be just kind of a fun show week to week. What's just like the comic, what is she getting into now? Like, what trouble is she getting in? And the book was fantastic as well. That
Whole thing about Aphra is she digs into the past. So we learn all this crazy lore, like the Ordu Aspectu and all these different.
See, now you're talking another language. I don't know what that.
Well, just ancient stuff, like artifacts that she's found and different places she's found that are super ancient, and we learn all this crazy lore. That doesn't really have an effect on anything, but it's fascinating. And I think, again, that gives you that opportunity to tell different stories. And all right, let's pitch it. You and I, after this call, we're going to write it out. We're going to pitch it to Disney, and they're going to say, yeah, we already thought of that. We're ready to go. So I do want to hit you with some trivia questions, though, if you don't mind. So here's an interesting factoid about me. I actually wrote 200 Star Wars trivia questions for the Amazing Science Fiction Horror Trivia Game. This was my dad's company back in 1994, I think. And so I found some of the questions, and they're awful, because back then we only had 3 movies. And so I'm going to just for fun, I'll throw a couple at you, and then I have some tougher ones. And then what I'm going to do is, if you don't mind, I'm going to put a link into the chat. We have a couple people with us, not a lot. We have a handful. And if they want to join us, and now the only caveat is, if you're going to ask a question, you have to have the answer. We can't,
I've been with people before, and they're like, "Cool, you know Star Wars. I got a great trivia question for you. What's blah blah blah?" And I'll be like, "Oh, that's a good one. What is it?" And they're like, "Oh, I don't know." And that's not trivia. That's like asking for information. So I just put the link in the chat if people want to join us. I'm literally just pulling questions here from the game, and they're awful. But again, it was 25 years ago. You had just seen Star Wars when this game came out, so they weren't bad then. Okay, and I know you're gonna know all the answers, but just for fun, what's the name of Lando's co-pilot in the attack of the Death Star and Return of the Jedi? And I even gave like A, B, and C options here. All right.
Nub.
And we spelled it wrong. I'm looking here. We spelled it wrong. That's nice. Okay. Although the Emperor doesn't use a lightsaber in Return of the Jedi, he attacks Luke Skywalker and almost kills him. How does he do this?
Force lightning.
Of course. Who was it? If you know, honestly, I think even people who've never seen Star Wars know the answers to this one. Okay. True or false? In Return of the Jedi, Anakin Skywalker was played by Robert Shaw.
False.
Right, Sebastian Shaw. So I think we were trying to do a little trick question there. Okay, I'll just ask one more, and then I'll ask you, because I did find some really good Star Wars trivia questions that I want to ask you. But this is the last one. Attack of the Jedi, Revenge of the Jedi, or Jedi Showdown. Which title was originally planned for the third Star Wars movie?
Revenge of the Jedi.
Right. All right. So, clearly, but I had to come up with 200 of those, and there was only 3 movies, and I didn't use the books, and I didn't. So. All right, so Michael Nip in the who actually was very excited to see you here. He's question fantastic. For you. His question is: in Empire Strikes Back, what are the last 2 words we hear Major Derlin say? Now he hasn't put the answer in, so
last 2 words.
Yeah.
All I'm thinking are the shield doors must be closed. I don't know.
It's let's go.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. Good. Yeah, that's a good one. And you know what? You're going to win Schmodown with that one. That's going to come back. You're going to be so glad Michael Nip asked you that question. That's good.
I love
it. Nick from Podcast The Will says Vader's chest plate has some writing on it. What language is it in, and what does it say?
Okay, it's in Hebrew,
but
I can't remember what it says.
I can't either. It says his deeds will not be forgiven until he merits. All right.
Oh,
interesting. Now, I've actually also heard that that's a rumor, like that's an unconfirmed. But I'm gonna, since it came from Nick from Podcast of the Wills, who treats Star Wars like a sacred text on Sunday nights, I'm gonna take it for the truth. Okay, so I'm gonna give you a handful more. If you're cool, if you're enjoying these trivia,
I
think it's good practice for you. If you win a DragonCon, if you win a 3rd DragonCon in a row, I'm gonna definitely take some credit for it, because I'm sure it's a year away, so this is great. Okay. There's a very important Jedi that is key in the prequel trilogy, but never appears in it, and has his name changed by a typo in Attack of the Clones.
Is it Sifo Dyas?
It is, and according to this, his name was supposed to be Sifo Dyas.
Interesting.
Yeah, a mispronunciation of Sidious.
Oh. Huh.
Which would have changed the story completely if it was Sidious that ordered the clones.
So, an interesting little tidbit. In 2019, I was again in the top 10. I was in the top 5, so I got better. I was in the top 5 DragonCon trivia, and a picture of Sifo Dyas was the question. So who is this? And I got it right, but guess what I forgot?
What?
The hyphen.
Oh, you had to write it.
We had whiteboards. Yeah, sorry.
We had whiteboards. Okay.
And we had to write the name, and I wrote Sifo Dyas, but didn't put a hyphen. And so I got knocked out. And I was like, no.
So your typo and Lucas's typo have had major impacts on each other's lives. That sounds like, this feels very much like a Schmodown question. The Empire Strikes Back primarily takes place in 2 sectors. What are they?
Oh, that's good. Anna, what? And Lewis?
Yes. Wow. Yeah. I would have gotten Anuit because I remember for some reason, don't they say that?
They do.
In
They
Empire,
say it
right?
once.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've seen Empire enough to know it. So but Lewis, I probably would not have gotten right. Okay.
Yep.
I like this question. Name all the planets that Master Yoda has set foot on in the canonical films.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Coruscant.
Mm-hmm.
Dagobah.
Mm-hmm.
Naboo.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Kashyyyk.
Yeah, one more.
You
said Dagobah, Coruscant,
Kashyyyk.
Naboo, and
Are we including Force Ghost?
no, just physically foot
Okay.
down. Yes.
Huh. Oh, wait. Geonosis.
Yes. Very good. Those are the kind of questions I like because they're like, there's like, yeah, you can actually like, there's a process you can go through in your head to kind of get to it. But that was pretty cool. All right, I'll give you two more, and then I'll stop torturing you. Who kept the planet Eriadu? Do I say that right? I always read it wrong. Eriadu. Eriadu on the side of the Republic during Clone Wars, only to become one of the Empire's top officials.
Tarkin.
Yeah, that one was too easy for you. Too easy. I mean, you read the book, so you know.
Yeah. A fantastic book, by the way.
It's one of those books, like when I ask people what their favorite books are, that one comes up a lot. And I wonder if they're going to bring the Plagueis story back somehow, because I know a lot of people love that. I'm hoping that maybe Acolyte goes there. I don't know.
Me too. I'm with you.
Okay, so I like this. This is another one of those questions I like, but of course, one of those two that I like just turned into a terrible mess. So let's take a risk with this last question. What human Star Wars character took 3 actors to portray him in A New Hope, but only 1 actor to portray him in Return of the Jedi? Which Star Wars character took 3 actors to portray him in A New Hope, but only 1 actor to portray him in Return of the Jedi?
Is it Wedge Antilles?
It is. Wow. That I never would have gotten that one. Yeah. So he was played by Colin Higgins, who was fired after the briefing scene. And then, of course, Dennis Lawson took the role. And then there was a British actor who dubbed the voice. And so that's the 3 actors there. And then I guess they just used good old Dennis himself for Return of the Jedi. So that's great. Very, very cool. So that was my failed trivia attempt. Okay, there's one more Clone Wars one I'm going to ask you here.
Ooh.
Okay. In the Clone Wars, but one named clone survives long enough to wear over 6 variants of clone armor. Who is this diversely dressed clone?
Ooh, I like the way that was worded. I'm between a few of them. But let's see. What about I'm trying to Echo?
No.
No.
Not according to this.
Okay.
According to this, it's Wolf.
Oh,
he had, and they list them here. Phase 1, Wolfpack Maroon, Wolfpack Blue, Blue Cold Assault Trooper, Wolfpack Black Design, Black Cold Assault Armor, Phase 2 Wolfpack Gray, and then Heavy Sand Armor. See? There you go.
Very cool.
I would love to say that I would have known any of these answers, but sadly, I think I might have gotten the Sifo Dyas one just because I was always trying to figure out where he came from and why he didn't get more time in the movies. But yeah. So Marie, this was a blast. I'm sorry the trivia didn't work out as well as we would have liked, but it
was fun.
So,
fun.
Where can people find you on the interwebs?
So you can find me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine, and you can find my Star Wars review blog at thestarwarsreview.blogspot.com. where I post every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And that's different than it was a few months ago. So I've kind of made some changes to make my content more reliably, posted. And then Afro's Artifacts on YouTube. And new content is released every Monday, which is also different. Monday at 6 p.m. Central.
Awesome. Well, Marie, thank you so much. This has been great, and I really appreciate you spending some time. And but thank you. This was awesome. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. I had a great time.
Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Around the Galaxy. If you had fun, please like, subscribe, share, and review it. If you really had fun and would like to be part of the live virtual audience, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/ATGcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitter or all your social media outlets at ATGcast, and go to our website, atgcast.com, for more information about the show, merch, and all kinds of great links. Around the Galaxy is copyright 2021 Pete in the Seat Studios, and our music is by the band Silver Colored Knob, which can be found wherever you find music.